Our business was really starting to take off. It all fell off a cliff overnight. It can be nerve-wracking. We're dealing with people's dreams. It's a big responsibility. So you want to make sure that you do that well and carefully. It will be challenging, but it's definitely worth it. If you have the dream, go for it. Don't procrastinate. Don't put it off. You don't know what's around the corner. You don't want to live with any regrets. If it doesn't work out the way that you planned, it doesn't matter. Just, reroute the path. But, don't ever live with the regret of not having tried. Go for it. It'll be rewarding.
Welcome to the show, Isobel. It's great to have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you for having me.
A fellow Scot, but you are actually all the way back in Scotland. Whereabout in Scotland are you based?
I'm in North Berwick, which is not far from Edinburgh, which I believe is where near you're from.
It is. It's a beautiful part, North Berwick. I was there actually the weekend of my 40th. I mean, to be fair, it was October. It was pouring rain, but it was still really nice actually. We're going to be talking today about travel, which is something that I'm really excited about because I love to travel. I've travelled since we were little. You have just booked a beautiful family holiday for myself, my family. My mum loved the interaction and everything that you did to organise this holiday. And she said that you have a wealth of knowledge. And I was like, right, okay, I want to learn more. So can you give us a little bit of a backstory as to how did you end up in probably one of the most glamorous, I guess there's always another side to it, but travel industry, you kind of think it is glamorous.
I went to art school when I left school, so it was a completely different path that I took on. I was a designer for many years. I worked in e-learning, but I always did have a wanderlust, and it was something that I didn't really act upon until, a pretty major life event. I got breast cancer when I was 36, and at that point I thought, right, this is it. All these things that I've been dreaming about, putting off, thinking there'll be a right moment, there'll be a right partner, there'll be a right time, I'm just going to do it now. And took myself off for 2 months and went to Thailand, and it was just a really enlightening, fantastic experience. A few short years later, I met my husband, and he also has the wanderlust, and so both of us, perfectly aligned, took ourselves off for a couple of months around the rest of Southeast Asia. And it was there one day we were sitting in the banyan tree in a pool with a building opposite, because we were in the financial district, and thought we will come back here one day. Shortly after, Mark was approached to work with a destination management company in Bangkok, and the office was across from the banyan tree, so there couldn't have been a better sign.
Wow. Yeah, that if there was ever a sign, that was it. And did he work in that industry?
Yes, he worked for Visit Scotland for many years. Obviously we're the home of golf in Scotland, so he was working primarily with golf tourism. So loads of experience from his point of view. So we both took ourselves off to Bangkok, lived there for 3 years. I was a freelance designer. At that point, we were planning our wedding, looking at honeymoon, getting really frustrated with not being able to find exactly what we wanted that was going to suit us and our style of travelling. And it was at that point, sitting with a glass of wine on the balcony in the egg chair, we came up with the idea of starting our own travel company. And at that time it was Rock My Moon, because we thought it was going to be honeymoons, but then we thought, right, we need to make this bigger, wider, and Rock My World was born.
Love it. So, there's so many questions I want to ask off the back of that. But before I do then, is everything okay now from the breast cancer? Is it into remission? What happened there?
Yeah, so that was about 11 years ago. So I've now been officially signed off from the doctor, touch wood, everything's well. So I'm feeling really healthy and fit. So yeah, I think I was very lucky.
That's amazing news. Amazing news. Amazing news. So Rock My World was born. You started thinking it was honeymoons, but who are your clients that you look after now?
Yeah, but as we are a really adventurous couple and we did lots of adventurous holidays, we thought, right, this is who we're going to target. But actually, and I just think that sometimes in business you've got to follow what's actually in front of you. And as it turns out, with being in Edinburgh and the Lothians and the type of networks I was part of with my friends, it's naturally gravitated towards a family market. So we adjusted to that, but that said, our families are adventurous. They do all kinds of holidays, but we really love the life cycle of the family's traveling calendar, if you like. They'll maybe do different types of holidays at different types of the year, and then they might have that one big one that they save for and plan. So it's really nice to be part of that. So that's essentially it. It's people within our network, and our business model is on referrals, and by giving really good customer service, having the referrals, and that's really how it's grown.
But that was really a big sort of turning point for you to say, right, I'm not happy in what it is I'm doing and I want to do something else.
Yeah, I am. I'm 11 years down the line now, and I've been officially signed off from the hospital and the doctors, so everything has gone well, off all medication. So yeah, and I'm feeling fit and healthy. Yeah, definitely. I think everything sort of flashes, and it sounds like the cliche, your life flashes in front of you, but it really does. When you're faced with that type of situation, you look at everything, and it was time to no longer put off what I'd always dreamed of, my passions, and yeah, it did give me the urge that I needed to go forward. And things have changed so much in that 11 years, all for the better.
So who are your kind of clients? Like you'd said you started off with Rock My Moon, it quickly went to Rock My World. Who are the types of clientele that you have?
So our clientele are mostly the family-based market. That is not what we intended to start out with targeting when we started the business. We thought it would be more adventurous travel, the type of trips that we want to go on ourselves. And it's not that we don't do that, but because we've basically adjusted to our networks that we're part of, that is what we've gravitated towards. And I think in business it's silly not to look at the opportunities that are right in front of you, as opposed to trying to sideline around them. So it's been a natural progression that way. But we love working with the family market. They have a life cycle of holidays, which, they have different points in the year, they'll do different kinds of trips, and then up to that point where they have the big major trip, maybe when the kids are teenagers, and they think this is the last we're going to get to spend time with them before they go to university and forget all about us. So it's really great. It's quite diverse.
Until it gets to the point where we become so much older that then we start going back on holidays with our family when we're older, with our children or with our partners or whatever, which is lovely. I saw a meme the other day which I thought was quite amusing, and it was something, I should forward you this because it might be good for something on social media, but it was like, I wished I didn't have that holiday when I was 8. I never needed that 2-week cruise when I was 8. I need a holiday now when I'm an adult. It was something like, your parents take you on holiday when you're young, but you don't need the holiday. But when we're like in our 20s, 30s, 40s, we need the holiday more than ever. So how do you get your clients? I mean, that's one thing. You've literally changed business. So you've gone from one industry to going, no, this is what I want to do. I love travel. I want to organize some things that are more adventurous for people. How did you start finding your clients?
So initially it was family and friends. It's what we call the everyone you know list. So, everybody that you have in your little black book, those are your first port of call. From there, it was, your local network. So I've been to loads of women's events in Edinburgh. It's fantastic for that type of thing. Obviously pre-COVID, there was more of that going on. It's starting up again. And social media, I mean, Facebook, Instagram, these are all amazing platforms for gathering clients, meeting people, getting your message out. And private groups, I think on Facebook are really powerful because you can connect with people on that, one-to-one basis. And again, if you do give a good service and you become referred, that's golden.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much to be said for that. I remember when I first started my business, and I say this to a lot of clients that I mentor, your first paid client will probably be a friend, a family member, or a friend of the family. And I can go back to being my first 3 paid clients were all of that vicinity. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Our first clients were family and friends, people that we'd known for years. They do sort of negotiate a tight bargain and deal with you. But it was all experience building as well, so we were happy to do that. So we were able to cut our teeth on our friends and family till it was a new thing for us. It was a new way of working. So they did provide that basis for us. So yeah, and we still have loads of family and friends as clients, and now they tell all their friends and their networks.
The word of mouth.
Yeah, it's grown from there. Yeah.
So I think there's something about the travel industry that there's this world pre-COVID and there's this world post-COVID, and there's certainly industries that were affected more than others. And I think travel and events were 2 that were probably one of the most hardest hit in what it was doing. So pre-COVID, where was the number 1 destination that people wanted to go, and has that changed post-COVID?
Pre-COVID, we were doing loads of USA. Now that obviously was one of the first to go. We do a lot of Indian Ocean, a lot of Australia, New Zealand, places like that, they were the ones that were the last to come back, essentially, because it was the long haul travel. It was Europe that came back first. But we are starting, now that restrictions have lessened, we're starting to see those creep back in, and then people's dream trips, bucket list trips are all starting to come back into play. So we're organising quite a lot of trips like that for next year and for later on in this year as well, which is really lovely to see that come back.
And have you found that people are actually, because a few industries have said this to me, that people are actually spending more? So let's say maybe people didn't have holidays during that time, so they're nearly spending more money on holidays now, or is it just the cost of travel has got so much more expensive that it is more to travel?
There's maybe a combination of both, but I think you're right in terms of people having more of that disposable income to spend because they did nothing during COVID and they weren't going anywhere, and they just think we've been nowhere for 2.5, 3 years, so that's it. We're going to go for it, and then go for a higher level of experience than they might have before. So yeah, no, it's definitely an element. Or we'll have people coming to us now who are far more organised than they maybe were. They're not winging it last minute. They're coming, right, let's just get our whole calendar planned for the next 1.5 years. We want these 4 trips. And they're booking it all in now. And that is a sensible idea, because the last minute holiday is not really a thing. Whether that comes back or not is unsure.
Oh, interesting. Why is that? Is that because things are just getting so booked up? Because it used to be, what I say in the old days, but I don't know how long ago in the old days, that you'd be like 2 days before you could walk into a travel agent and get a deal for a few £100 or something. Like, that doesn't happen anymore, does it?
Not at the moment. No, it isn't, because there's not that much availability. I mean, there's only so many. You see what's happening in the news with flights being cancelled, so even what was available is becoming restricted. I mean, I'm sure that will improve as the world opens up more, like airlines start employing staff back, once that grows, I'm sure that'll increase. But for the moment, it's tricky for people to get exactly what they want as well. If they've got very specific requirements, then I think you would have to be much more open-minded about what you can receive as a holiday, then you might have more choice. But if you're very specific about what you want, then you're unlikely to get that last minute.
Oh, that's really interesting. So my biggest question that I'm curious about is, how did you survive probably during the being in that industry that was so badly hit in the sense that no one could actually travel? What did you do to keep clients coming in? I mean, I suppose there was a lot of rebookings happening, but did you pivot? Tell me a little bit about the last couple of years.
In a word, horrendous. Our business was really starting to take off. It all fell off a cliff overnight. But what we did is we had to become even more customer focused than we had before. Our priority was to make sure that every one of our clients felt safe and secure in the knowledge that their money was safe, that they weren't going to lose that they would be refunded. That was our sole focus. So we were preempting the conversations, we were contacting them, because I think everybody was, it was all unknown for us all. We didn't know how it was going to play out. I think we maybe knew what was going to happen in a month ahead of time, but beyond that, it was unknown. That was our first priority, really. And we did manage to rebook most people and refund, and I'm pleased to say that we got 100% of our refunds back for everybody. And then from there, they all eventually had the confidence to come back and book.
And did you look at doing, because you're saying most of your trips you're doing are kind of long haul, or like Indian Ocean, Europe, did you end up doing trips in the UK? Is that something that you maybe didn't bargain on doing, but that's what you had to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my geography of the UK has become even better because of that. So yeah, I can tell you where you can get a really nice lodge with a hot tub in most places in the UK. So yeah, no, we did. That is how we pivoted to be able to bring some income in during that time, is we provided that type of holiday. And that was great, because it actually brought us new customers, because as soon as people found out we were doing that, they all started coming to us with their inquiries. We want to get away to Wales for 2 weeks in the summer. And now those clients are booking their long haul Europe holidays with us, so we've gained new clients out of it, which is fantastic.
And I think as much as, like you said, COVID and the period through that's been really challenging, there has been some good things that have come out of it. So you've got new clients. In my perspective, I completely pivoted in my business, sold one, started another, and I'm happier than I've ever been. And just having that time to be able to think about what do I want to do, and it nicely coincided with turning 40 and the new chapter and everything as well. So all of that was really good. What would you say to someone, because I think that there's so many lessons in kind of what you've done. So we've got the pivoting in the business, but also you've pivoted in your career. And I think a lot of people that are listening to this podcast, either they're an entrepreneur or they're considering doing their own thing. What kind of tips would you have for them making that transition from maybe employee to entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think that if you have a dream, you've just got to go for it and put aside your fears. We all have them. I think it's like, don't sweat over the small stuff. You know, you're going to make mistakes. None of us are infallible, but I say embrace those mistakes. They make us better. We learn from them. You know, having humility with the people that you're dealing with, it's going to stand you in good stead. But yeah, definitely go for it. And if it seems like too big a challenge, break it down into smaller parts. What can you do at stage one? Then what can you do at stage two? You know, you're not going to build a multi-million-pound business overnight, but you can definitely do that with a longer term plan, but achievable, you know, smaller chunks. And that's less, you know, it can be nerve-wracking. You're dealing with people's dreams in our particular business, so it's a big responsibility. So you want to make sure that you do that well and carefully, and then we don't want to grow too quickly so that we make sure that those people are not looked after. So I think it's just about planning and, you know, having no fear, going for it. It will be challenging, but it's definitely worth it.
I've never really thought about that, but you know, one of my friends is a wedding planner, and she talks about planning weddings being, you know, one of the most emotional times, and I guess, like you say, you know, you're planning people's dream vacation or dream holiday that they've thought about. In my family situation, a year. Like, this is not the done thing in the Middle East, by the way. No one books a holiday a year in advance, or very few people book a holiday a year in advance. It's like, hey, less than 3 months, go here. Or, you know, in places like Maldives, Zanzibar, they're 3-4 hours away, so it doesn't seem such a big trip to organize. So when you are planning someone, that's what they're talking about for an entire year. The pressure is on for you to get every single bit right. I would love to know one amazing holiday that you organized for a family, and some things that you did, and how did it all come out? Like, tell us a couple of travel stories.
Yeah, so the holiday, one of the most memorable holidays, and if the family are listening to this, they'll instantly recognize who it is. And there's many like this, but this one is, I suppose it was maybe the first of this kind that we did on such a huge scale. And it was a family that had a 2-month sabbatical, and we're going over to America and doing Canada. So they started on the East Coast, up to Canada, and over to the West Coast. So it was a huge trip, and there was so many moving parts to it and elements, which we had to book. But there was things like when they were it's gone out of my mind. So in New York, it was the 4th of July celebrations, but it was also a big birthday. So it was organising things so they could be on the boat, so they could see the fireworks. You know, just put them in the right place at the right time. Then when they were, they went to Fenway Park. Because they're massive football fans. Once they got to the East Coast, it was organising things, even just down to simple things like they're bike riding one day, or they're doing a Segway, the special meals they'd have together as a family. There was another birthday which was happened in Los Angeles, organising with the hotel for them to bring them hot chocolate and some presents to the room and wine for the parents. Just all the little sort of what we call wee wows that we try and introduce, so that, things they're not expecting, but just really help to enhance the holiday and give it that, just that sort of yay feeling.
I like that. What did you call them? Wee wows?
Yeah, wee wows.
Those that are maybe not familiar with the Scottish accent, wee means like, it's quite a, how would you describe the word wee? It's small, but it's more than that. It's just kind of I don't know, how would you describe wee?
Yeah, I guess it is small, but then when you say small, that makes something feel like you're belittling it, but it's not really like that. It's just, we would say we'll have a wee cup of tea, but that cup of tea is, it's a standard size cup. So it's just it's an expression of how we say it in Scotland, isn't it? I suppose it's a lovely colloquial term when we're thinking of something that's attributed to nice and good.
Yeah, that and when I talk about it in personal branding, so what are the things that you can do? And I've got 7 pillars of personal branding. And the 7th pillar is how can you stand out? So within the business, yeah, you've got customer service and you've got great customer service. But I think what you've just demonstrated there is an element of standing out. Wee wows. These are little things that we can do that seem small, but actually have a huge, significant way that they make someone feel. Can you tell me a couple of other wee wows? I like this.
So we've got people that are going off to Borneo to see the orangutans, and they're going to Bali. It's a big trip, so we've sent them a journal for them to keep for that journey. So they love that. So that's just a really nice way for them as a family to record what they're doing. All of our Disneyland Paris clients, we send the children personalised t-shirts with Mickey or Minnie on them, so they've got that for when they arrive at the park. Just things they're not expecting like that. Or it might be that we do contact the hotel for everyone when they're arriving, and sometimes hotels can be really fabulous in working with us. So there might be a nice fruit platter for when they arrive at midnight, or a bottle of Prosecco, or some chocolate, strawberries, something like that. So that we try and always do something for our clients, and when they come home, there'll be a nice thank you card with some thank you chocolates for them as well, for booking with us. So that
I love that. That is a great example of standing out within your space, because it is competitive. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of businesses doing that, but the attention to detail and the small touches, really, really, really nice touch. So where are the hot destinations now that long haul's opened back up? Where do people want to go?
We are getting loads of inquiries for Africa and safari, that type of thing. So it is the big trips that people now want to do. We are getting so much USA and Canada again. So it's all these long haul destinations that we had before opening back up. South America, not so much for us. Maybe for other agents, but we're not seeing that so much at the moment. Loads of Europe and definitely Maldives and Mauritius. So a lot of our honeymoon clients wanting to have the beautiful Maldivian island experience.
Love it. Which is where you booked for us. We were going on our family holiday, and I'm so excited. It would be unfair not to talk about the other side of business travel, which has been really affected. So your business was really families and focused towards that. Did you do travel for business, and what's the shape of that now?
Yeah, it's probably about 5% of our market would be business travel, and it's usually come off the back of having a client that's had a family holiday with us and said, oh, can you do our business travel? We have seen that drop off because everyone's now on Teams or Zoom. They're having their meetings remotely. They don't need to meet in person anymore. And at the moment, there is the complication of if you've got any connecting flights or any massive complexity, there's a good chance it might not quite go according to plan. And if you're on a tight time frame for meetings and so on, that is probably a hassle that they don't need. But we have seen it come back a little bit. So that would normally be the business class market as well. But again, those are in limited supply. So you have to kind of be organised. And often they have to be organised last minute. So that makes it a bit more challenging as well.
What about the other aspect then of this sort of remote working? Because that's something that's really developed more so over the past couple of years. Digital nomads, I don't actually love that term, but the ability to be able to go and work in Europe or Bali for a month, do people come to you for that, or are they just looking to organise their own thing?
We've had a few inquiries like that. I wouldn't say it's it's a minority that we have. I mean, it's something that we do personally. So, we're planning to go away in January, February, March, which are, as much as we love Scotland, those months are not fantastic with So part of our job, because we're not tied to an office, is we can work from anywhere. So we are going to become those people next year. So yeah, and there's certain places around the world that are really encouraging it. Places like Madeira, they are really pushing the whole come and work in our country. There's fantastic things to do in your downtime, whether you're going trekking, hiking, or swimming in the sea, all that stuff. During COVID, Barbados had extended their visa for people working at home to encourage people to go and do that. And if you are, if your company allows, why does it matter where you're working from? As long as you've got good connectivity, then you can be anywhere. It's a great idea.
So I'm curious to know where you're going to be spending January, February, March.
Well, we don't want to go too far because of the time difference, and we speak to people a lot on the phone. So we'll be probably heading to the Canaries, maybe doing a bit of island hopping, and then on to mainland Spain, and maybe finishing around Valencia in that area.
How nice. I look forward to seeing that all over social. So thank you so much for your time. I guess, what would be your kind of parting tip or something that you'd maybe like to, oh, this is a question actually I quite like. What would be a myth, let's do that, a myth you would like to dispel in the travel industry or in what it is that you do, and then we'll go into maybe your parting gift of information.
So that is an easy one with us. What we do is concierge travel, and it's without the cost, and it's for everyone. And I think the myth is that our type of service is only for the uber wealthy because it's going to cost you more. It actually doesn't, it's more about that we're here to help make travel for you a lot easier, regardless of what your budget is, because that holiday is important, whether it's at one end of the scale or the other end of the scale. That is really our prime ethos, is that it's for everyone. I think when people speak to us, they're like, "What, you don't charge anything?" Like, no. They're like, "Oh, fantastic."
Because people do think, oh, well, I'll go and organise it myself, so it's cheaper because travel agents take a cut or something like that. But that's what you're saying is a big myth there.
Absolutely, because our suppliers pay us commission. That's how it works. So sometimes it might cost a little bit more, but really it's going to be fairly comparable. But for the benefit that you get from that, we're the ones that spend 2 hours online listening to Jess Glynn on repeat rather than the customer.
That terrible music going, oh no, what's next? And as much as you're based in Scotland and you said you're spending time elsewhere, you could be planning someone's holiday that lives in Dubai and they're traveling somewhere else. Like, it doesn't matter where your clients are based, you can plan the destination for them.
We've actually got friends in Dubai that we have organised trip for, so yeah, good example.
Oh, brilliant. And then from a business, your parting gift of wisdom, of information or tip, what would you share?
I think it just is kind of what I said before about, you just have to, if you have the dream, go for it. Don't procrastinate, don't put it off. You don't know what's around the corner. You don't want to live with any regrets. If it doesn't work out the way that you planned, it doesn't matter. Just, reroute the path. But don't ever live with regret of not having tried. Go for it. It'll be rewarding.
That was something that you'd said at the beginning, actually, that what you'd started doing, as in thinking it was going to be honeymoons, wasn't what you end up doing. And I see that so often, and my own business was the same. Like 20 years ago, I started a personal styling agency, and I thought my target audience was going to be the hotel industry. I thought it was going to be people that were visiting Dubai, and it completely wasn't. 360, it was all people that lived here. So it does change massively. How can people find you, Isobel?
They can find us on our website, so that's rockmyworld.co.uk. We've also got a Facebook page, which is Rock My World Travel, and our Instagram page as well. So you will find us on there, and our contact details are on, so they can either call us or they can email us, WhatsApp us, whichever method they prefer.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today, and have an amazing trip when you go and be what do you call it? Would you say you're a digital nomad, or what would you call yourself? Remote worker?
Yeah, remote work. That sounds really boring as well, doesn't it? But the digital nomad also sounds a little bit flibberty gibbert as well. So we'll have to come up with a new term, I think, for that. So I'm gonna consider that one.
That could be summer planning. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. Take care.